All right, this is part 3. So let's get our critical thinking skills going. So, my thought is this: I think just like we know that the children of Israel walked through the wilderness for 40 years, and we know if you're reading the Bible, we know that Abraham walked to different places. We know Isaac walked many places. Jacob walked everywhere. We know everybody walked back then. Okay. And we know that even through before technology, they were walking or being on camels or doing all kind of things. So I think that there was so much land mass that it was all over the place. That some places, I already believe that there were people already populated. Melanated people were already populated throughout the world. I already believe that. Different nations. But we did have the covenant people, the children of Israel, because it was well known that the children of Israel were in the land. Okay, we already know that. Okay, but they diluted a lot of things. But let's just think about this. So, isn't it possible that people walked through the Grand Canyon or other countries that were not identified yet? And people were already here on land across the world, and America is not that old to identify as an old country. So we already know America is only 400 years old. And this whole thing about Columbus coming over here and discovering America, we already know that's a lie. We already know so many things are not true. And you can go into, if you ever want to look at some historical facts, which I've been there, you can go to Washington, D.C., and they have the law of Congress. And you can go into the Library of Congress, actually, the Library of Congress, and you can pull out some facts and go in, and it takes a while to go do all that. But they have different places. That's one place you can go to different parts of the states and actually go to the historical records and find out all this information. It just takes time and it takes money to do that. And I have traveled to a lot of places. So let's talk about that. And because I'm thinking that it aligns both with archaeology and prophecy if you look very closely. So like I said, people were already here before the colonizers. Indigenous peoples, Yasharel melanated peoples, were already living across the Americas when Europeans arrived. Archaeological evidence shows advanced civilizations, agriculture, cities, and trade networks long before 1492. In Chicoia, Illinois, massive city with mounds and urban planning. Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, sophisticated architecture and astronomical alignments. The Grand Canyon, evidence of ancient habitation, though often underreported. These were not primitive societies. They were thriving civilization with culture, spirituality, and governance. Now, if you got to ask this question, why is it that they won't allow you to go to the bottom of the Grand Canyon? They have it marked off. You cannot go down there. There's certain areas of places that the government won't let you go. There's a place in California, it's called an exit called XYZY or something like that. And you literally, if you go on that exit, which I have done before, and there's some mountains and you go deep in there, you are met with military people and they tell you to turn around ASAP. And they follow you back to the exit. So I'm telling you, they've gotten things hidden that they don't want you to know. Let's go on. Migration across land. Humans have walked across land bridges and continents for tens of thousands of years. Bering Land Bridge 20,000 years ago allowed migration from Asia into the Americas. Coastal and inland migration routes existed long before recorded history. It is entirely possible people moved through areas like the Grand Canyon, rivers, valleys, and mountain passes. Now, if you think about it, all these migrations that came in when Obama and Biden was president, people were walking from what? Venezuela. They were walking from Iran, Iraq, Russia, all different parts. Now, how did they walk over here from all those different countries, even Africa? How did they walk over here? Because they walked through different countries to get to different parts, to get to different places in the United States. Some ended up in New York, some ended up in Canada, some ended up in Alaska, some ended up in Arizona, some ended up in Texas. It just depends on where you walk to. So they're doing that today. So if they're walking now, imagine how far they walked in. And Africa, like Nigeria, is like 7,000 miles. Can you imagine? You can walk. You can walk from Africa to here, but it'll take you a certain amount of time. And I'll probably have to look that up to see how long it'll take. But it is possible. Let's go on. America as a nation versus America as land. The land we call America is not ancient in terms of European naming or political identity. The name comes from Amerigo Vespucci, 1500s. The land itself and its peoples are ancient. Tribes and civilizations existed long before European colonization. Colonizers simply erased names, histories, and spiritual systems to claim the land. We already know that. And they're giving this guy credit for being America, but I'll just leave that alone. And Yahuwah's covenant people, Yasharel, were scattered, but they already existed on the land. That's what I'm trying to say. Fulfilling prophecy of being exiled or hidden, Deuteronomy 28:64. Colonizers arriving did not bring civilizations. They interrupted and recorded history from their lens, renaming everything. This is why so many sites were hidden, unrecorded, or misrepresented as Indian ruins or prehistoric mounds. And that's the reason why they put their statues up of their people, praising these colonizers, these slave catchers, these people. They have all these different statues up because they want to be remembered by these races. So let's just, in summary, people absolutely walked and migrated across North America like they're doing now, including places like the Grand Canyon. Advanced civilization existed long before colonizers arrived. America as a country is recent. The land and its people are ancient. Colonizers erased history, leaving only fragments and records and bywords. This matches prophecy. Covenant people scattered, hidden, oppressed, yet alive on the land. Now, Deuteronomy 28, if you have not read it, read it today. It will describe us to a T. There's no other group of people that fits these people. Not those people over in Israel. They're imposters. They're Gentiles. Take the time and read it and get revelation. People are still walking over here to many countries, even this country. Put your critical thinking ears on and get revelation from Yahuwah.